Wanting to do horror and actually managing to pull it off are two very different things, as more than a few games have showed us in the past. At the same time, however, there's no shortage of those that have shown that when you do pull it off, it can make for moments that stamp themselves in players' memories. From heart-stopping jump scares to unexpectedly terrifying sequences, games have found a variety of ways to crescendo to absolutely terrifying moments, and here we're going to talk about a few of them. First Hunter encounter, Dead Space. Dead Space is a horrifying game that tries to scare you to your wits' end in a number of different ways, which include specific sections where you have to escape from a terrifying stalker enemy in the form of the Hunter. The first time this happens is one of the scariest sequences in the game, after quickly realizing that wasting your ammo on this thing is going to do you no good, and dashing out of the room in a panic, hearing the thing's lumbering footsteps slowly moving in your direction can induce quite a panic. The Child's Room, Layers of Fear. Bloober Team shot to fame with the original Layers of Fear, and looking back at some of its best moments, it's easy to understand why the psychological horror game did as well as it did. The Child's Room is an excellent example of that. Right off the bat, things start getting a bit unsettling, but the scene descends into much more unnerving territory almost instantly, and keeps doing that until the very end. Even though it's relatively short, and even though your character is never really in any physical danger, it remains one of the scariest sequences in the entire game. The dollmaker scene, Alice Madness Returns.
I've been complicit with my sister's murderer and the killer of my family as he corrupted my mind. I sought relief from my pain.
Alice Madness Returns is a twisted yet authentic take on the iconic Alice in Wonderland story that has very much stood the test of time. And some of its best sequences have only gotten better with age. Alice's encounter with the dollmaker is probably chief among them, even outside of its significance to the story, from the build-up to her encounter, to the foreboding design and music of the environment, to the unsettling design of the dollmaker. There's plenty about the scene that can get your teeth on edge. Nemesis Chasing You Down, Original Resident Evil 3. It's fair to say that the RE3 remake didn't do justice to Nemesis as a stalker villain, even if the boss fights were cool, but thankfully the original's version of the undead bioweapon remains excellent. All said and done, he's not a persistent stalker enemy for too long, even in the original, but when he is chasing Jill down through Raccoon City, the level of tension he injects into the experience every time he shows up is unparalleled to this day. Jack Baker Chasing You Down, Resident Evil 7.
My little girl has given us a gift, and this gift is with me always. As you can see, the family is only part of a gift.
Resident Evil absolutely loves its stalker enemies, and though the persistent game-wide fear of someone like Mr. X is more effective in the long term, the short-term and more immediate scares of someone like Jack Baker are also quite potent. The Baker family patriarch serves as a persistent stalker foe for a relatively short section towards the beginning of the game, but having to avoid him by sticking to the shadows or running for your life when he spots you is a heart-pounding experience. Xenomorph Encounters, Alien Isolation. We've mentioned a few stalker enemies in this feature so far, but pretty much none of them can compete with Alien Isolation's Xenomorph in terms of how effectively terrifying and threatening they are. The alien is shockingly smart and has ways of figuring out when you're hiding, and being able to escape it once it's spotted you is far easier said than done. The vast majority of Alien Isolation is peppered with encounters with the Xenomorph that could make it into the last, most of them dynamic and completely unexpected. Dinner with the Cannibals, Telltale's The Walking Dead Season 1.
private time! No!
Jump scares are all well and good, but when the horror is more slow and palpable and gradually builds to a nightmarish reveal, that can be just as memorable, if not more. The entire section in the first season of Telltale's The Walking Dead, when Lee, Clementine, and the main group of survivors have been welcomed in by what seems to be a surprisingly friendly and hospitable family at first, only for them to discover that they're actually a family of cannibals, is chilling, to put it mildly. The Night Folk, Red Dead Redemption 2.
Ma'am? You okay, ma'am? Talk to me. I'm not gonna hurt you.
You know what can often be scarier than a scary section or scene in a horror game? One that randomly shows up, out of nowhere, in a completely non-horror one. For instance, when you're playing Wild West Simulator Red Dead Redemption 2 and you suddenly find yourself wading through the marshes at nighttime, seeing disemboweled corpses hanging off of trees amidst the fog and the moonlight, only to get attacked by unseen camouflaged enemies. Yeah, that can be alarming to say the very least. Man-Bat Ambush, Batman Arkham Knight. Speaking of scenes that'll make your heart stop in games that definitely aren't horror, even though you do expect occasional scares from Batman, especially the Arkham games, the Man-Bat ambush in Arkham Knight can make your heart stop working for a couple of moments. It happens suddenly, and it's little more than a short, concentrated burst of terror, but it's also incredibly effective, and to say that it leaves its mark would be a bit of an understatement.
You come to the orphanage, detective, or she dies.
Ghost Snapshots, Fatal Frame series. Though the Fatal Frame franchise doesn't have the kind of mainstream success and popularity that something like Resident Evil enjoys, where the actual scare factor is concerned, it's right at the top of the ladder of the horror genre. The photography mechanics at the core of the franchise have been used to great effect time and time again, and no matter how many times you've played Fatal Frame games, you can't quite stop getting goosebumps when you catch the fleeting image of a phantasmal figure floating across your camera's viewfinder. Locker Scene, Condemned Criminal Origins.
Help me.
Condemned Criminal Origins remains an underappreciated classic of the horror genre. As those who have played it will tell you, when it gets really scary. The locker scene is one of several such scenes in the game. The gimmick of having something unexpectedly jump out at you as soon as you open a door is certainly not an original one, but it's extremely well executed here. Grabbing the Flashlight, Half-Life Alyx. The Half-Life franchise has always flirted with horror without ever fully committing to the genre, but Half-Life Alyx often feels like it's fully veering into that territory. Take for instance the part of the game where Alyx acquires the flashlight. It's set in a creepy and dimly lit environment where it's hard for you to see too well, and in that setting it sees Alyx having to pull the flashlight off of a disfigured corpse hanging off the ceiling. With the tension building, it pulls the trigger and then has you fighting off headcrabs, skittering about in the shadows and leaping out at you from the darkness. It's all more than a bit terrifying. Spotting Lisa, PT. PT is a masterclass in horror that has hugely influenced the genre in the gaming space, which is incredibly high praise for what's ostensibly a demo. And as short as it is, you could fill this whole list with moments from that game. Basically, anytime you do manage to get a look at the terrifying Lisa, PT all but paralyzes you, whether you spot her around the corner, or see her staring at you from the landing on the first floor, or just feel her presence right behind you only to turn around and find nothing. Radio Static, Silent Hill 1. The radio in Silent Hill 1 is an iconic horror mechanic at this point, and it does wonders for how effective that game is at scaring you throughout the experience. Not only does it do a great job of establishing that hearing static on that radio means you're soon going to be in trouble, it also keeps finding ways to make that feel terrifying even when it's happened several times before. It's a masterful mechanic that hasn't lost its sheen in the slightest. First anima encounter, The Evil Within 2. The Evil Within 2 blends jump scares and more cerebral horror in excellent ways throughout its runtime, and nothing exemplifies that better than its anima encounters. The first one, in particular, always stands out in memory, being transported from a seemingly unassuming house to the creepy, fog-filled halls of a hospital, having to sneak your way out of there while she hunts you down while constantly humming a haunting melody. The fog and the effects on her fabric, all of it comes together to make for an unforgettable experience. That's all for now. If you enjoy what you saw, please hit the like button. And if you're new to the channel, now is a great time to subscribe. We upload brand new videos every single day. After subscribing, don't forget to enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon. Thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you next time, right here on Gaming Bolt.